Hi, how are you out there in Karen's Carrots Land? Good evening, everybody. I'm Karen here with you this evening on Thursday at 7 p.m. This is when we come and talk about a lot of things. We talk about emotional intelligence. That's the overarching theme to all of this with EAs in the C suite. We bring you guests talking about all kinds of things: organization, soft skills, just a whole lot of things, building teams. What does that mean? What kind of help do you need? Are you comfortable with a virtual assistant? Do you need in-person support? Are you someone who is working with a CEO but you feel frustrated, you don't feel like you're recognized? Come join us. This is where you need to be. Tonight we have with us not only um, professional in her own right, but a good friend. I want you to all welcome Ms. Towanda Sanders Williams. She is here tonight, and I just love the topic she's going to talk about, and that's the Sunday night dreads. I had it. I didn't know it was such a popular condition, so to speak. I wasn't so much down as I on Sunday as it was. I wasn't looking forward to Monday.
Mm.
So Tawanda is here with us tonight. She's a certified employee assistant professional. This is a field she's really passionate about, and I'm going to have her tell you a little bit more about herself. Welcome, Tawanda. I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
we were able to get together this evening.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that I certainly always kind of thought about when it comes to Monday night, Sunday nights and Monday mornings as an EAP professional was just how to get people prepared. I was an
Mm.
EAP professional for a number of years, and I worked in a call center environment. And so oftentimes, employees who may have been struggling with what we call work life issues, whether it's parenting or caregiving or work stress or medical issues, were often called for emotional support. And I used to love to work Sundays because Sundays was generally a quiet time. But what I tend to find was happening a lot is I got a lot of emotional folks who would call because they dreaded going to work on Monday. And so I termed coined the term Sunday night dreads just from working with individuals, just talking about how to help them move through what they were was definitely a real experience, but also how to get them on the other side of that and what that might look for them. So I am a certified employee assistance professional by trade and skill. I've worked in EAP environments domestically and internationally for about 15 or so years. Also trained as a marriage and family therapist, also a sexologist, also a certified, also a certified vision board person. And all those things really led me to be able to work in a way to support individuals that had the Sunday night dread. So I called it my toolbox. And over the years, I've had to pull in all those in one way or another. And so that brought me to connect with Karen and be a part of her show tonight and just take time just to really kind of unpack that and what that might look like for some and just what we do to move through that. So thank you, Karen, for inviting me on your show today.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. May I just say that I had no idea how widespread this problem is. I say was because when I was working a typical 9 to 5, as I said, I had those feelings. It wasn't, didn't put me in a deep depression or anything. But there are a lot of people. In fact, I recently read over 81% of people to
Mm.
some degree go through this Sunday night dreads. And the thing that was surprising to me was it wasn't um it wasn't just people, let's say, who were having a problem with their boss or having a problem in their work environment. Oftentimes, it was with people who had good relationships with their boss, peers, but that also translated to a lot of work, a lot of put upon, a lot of projects thrown their way. So while the relationship was good, it just overwhelmed them in the workload arena. What do you think about that?
I'm going to say that's actually accurate. One of the things when I would talk to employees who would call in, I always knew when they started crying, I just let them, I just say, I got one rule for crying. You got to have good tissue. Puff Plus with lotion, we got to get it. And I would just let them just have that time emotionally to express whatever it may. Sometimes it could have been anxiety about the work. Sometimes it could have been a little bit of frustration about feeling unheard or not being able to move forward. Sometimes it was being underpaid. Sometimes it was being overwhelmed or just not having support, depending on what the profession. So, I know if someone may be saying, well, what profession tends to have more Sunday night dreads than the other? I can tell
Um,
it's across the board.
okay.
And one of the things, when I would have people just talk, and say, well, what is it about the work? What changed? When did you stop loving what you did and now you're dreading having to go there? And I think also an important piece too is about the relationships in the workplace. It's hard to talk about the Sunday night stress without talking about if people are experiencing bullying in the workplace, if the workplace is an unsafe place as well. So for folks who are experiencing, Sunday night stress, Friday they clock out, they love it. Saturday is wonderful. And usually around 6, 7 o'clock, when people's minds start thinking about what they have to go into on the next day, usually that's when our calls would increase, increase. And like I said, it wasn't to any one particular profession where I would see this, but it would be across the spectrum. I think the other piece to this, certainly when we talk about the Sunday night dreads, is just for many people, and we saw this with COVID, work is just not what's happening when you leave and you go to your virtual environment or you go to a physical environment. Some of it is just about those things that have to happen if it's caregiving, if it's child care, if it's, elder care, also as a part of that. So, Sunday night dress for many folks is like, what am I going to be walking into? What is my week going to be like? And so oftentimes, just really spending time and letting that person just tell me what's the problem. What are we looking at, and what has you so upset?
So how does someone in your position um, come in contact with folks experiencing this? Is it with a certain workforce, a certain firm? Because I can see your help, being needed universally. So, how does someone get, to talk to you? Because invariably, I'd imagine talking to you will help them through this, help them begin to deal with it, and talk about that. How can one begin to deal with Sunday night dreads?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, if you work for an employer, employee assistance programs are, as I mentioned, I work international as well as domestic, and employers have programs that support with emotional stress. And I know some folks feel like, well, if my employer's paying for it, and we hear this a lot. Well, if my employer is paying for it, are they going to know that I called?
Okay.
EAP programs are safe spaces. Sometimes employers have them on site and sometimes they have them off site, and they are attached to insurances. If you have medical insurance, your medical insurance is going to have a mental health component. And that's where you can find out, does your employer offer EAP services or employee assistance programs? The
Your
wonderful thing,
Towanda, I don't know if it's your internet, but you're beginning to crack just a little,
a little
and
bit,
yeah, and it's also the camera is fogging you up. I just wanted you to know because you're giving us such important information. I want everybody to be sure to hear it. Hi, Judith. I didn't say hi to Judith. Towanda. Judith says hello.
hi, Judah. Now, did that help any? Because I'm also getting a little bit of feedback, but I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Okay, you the audio sounds better, but you're still foggy.
I'm still foggy. And on my side, it looks very clear.
Okay. All right, let's go with it.
Okay. Foggy as in,
The picture, the visual is slightly foggy and distorted. Slightly. You're not
okay,
crystal clear.
okay. And then on my side is clear.
Okay. So we'll go.
Okay. Um, so, I mean, I think just reaching out to your health insurance provider and finding out. The wonderful thing about EAPs, I wanted to share employee assistance program. If you are a household member and you're not on someone's insurance plan, you can still use an EAP program or the resources from EAP, even if you're not covered. So we get a lot of this when young people are graduating from college or, people move in your house for whatever reason. So, those are worthwhile, resources to take advantage of. And again, it's few and far between that employers don't have them. Many employers have EAP programs. And you can
Okay.
call and talk to a counselor.
Okay. So I remember being employed, and we had what they call it was like I'm forgetting the name of it, but basically three um you had
Yeah,
three appointments with
that's
a
right.
counselor. Okay. So that's sort of the same kind of thing you're talking about. And if they felt
Yes.
you needed to go further, and it was confidential and your affair, if they felt you both felt you needed more, then you could schedule something outside of those three. Oh, this is Sheila Cunningham, my sister. She says she used her EAP for counseling. That would have been at the University of Pennsylvania. Hi, Sheila.
And the
Uh,
great thing about EAP, and don't tell nobody I told you this, it's a per problem resource.
okay.
It's a per problem resource. So you
So if
always want
I
to
went
ask.
3 times for my divorce, that's the divorce. And now
Mhm.
I need 3 times for caring for my parents.
That's another problem. So you want to always ask whatever your EAP program is about the per problem resource that's available. If you're going as a couple, so when I would often get folks who would have the Sunday night dread, and it was the best kept secret in the house. It wasn't telling the spouse. Nobody knew that they were really struggling with depression and anxiety about going to work the next day. And we would EAPs would give authorization. So I'll use one example. If your mental health program is with United Healthcare, that's one example. United Healthcare will probably have an EAP program, and you can get authorizations for your Sunday night dread and also for marriage or relationship if your relationship is being impacted by that. So Those are, again, just safe places to talk with someone privately. I mean, and those conversations run the gamut from, no, I just hate my job. I just want to quit the job. I just hate my boss. I hate my coworkers, or to, I'm just really ready to make a transition to something else, and I don't know how to begin that process. And again, those are conversations that you can have with the EAP counselor as well.
I was thinking about the individual. I was thinking about two individuals, okay? The individual who may not admit to themselves that that anxiety that they experience on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, um, that there's help for that. They may just, fight through it, not label it anything, or, oh, I wish I had another day. I wish I didn't have to go in on Monday. Whatever they're saying, they're not really admitting to themselves it's a problem that they need help for and that they can get help for. I think there are a lot of people like that. They'll tell you, oh, I mean, every Sunday night it is a struggle for me, but they don't continue that to say, I'm going to seek help.
Right. And I think here's the it used to be a little known fact, but it is a fact where they talked about why people have heart attacks on Monday driving to work. What do you get? First of all, if you get the Sunday night dreads, you're tossing and turning, you're not sleeping,
Yeah.
which again contributes to anxiety and depression. If you're already not sleeping, you got to get up, get yourself organized, and not to mention if there's other people that you gotta get together as well. So, it has an impact on everything. And let's not lose the fact that just because more people are working virtually, that people don't have the Sunday night dread. Because at least there was some point you can get out of the house and escape to work. But if you had to convert your dining room or your kitchen, I talked to a woman this week, and she says, like, my office is in the kitchen, and I don't even want to go in the kitchen because that's the only place. And I'm starting to hate this. I don't like this. So, I think being mindful that just because you got the blessing to be able to not have to get up and get dressed, or you can dress from the waist up and nobody knows you got on your pajama pants, it still doesn't stop the fact that you could still be struggling on Sunday night with going to work the next day.
Yeah, that's a real struggle. You made me think of my brother mentioned to me recently regarding the work from home syndrome. He said at first he was taking everything personal. Like he would get a message. Well, where were you? Didn't you see my message? I mean, this is how he was hearing it. You were supposed to sign on to that meeting 15 minutes ago, and things like that. He says at first it was really getting to him because he didn't appreciate that whole virtual syndrome and that it wasn't personal. These are people just, could be talking this way inside of the office. So that is, in fact, something that you have to get used to as well. I said it was two. Okay, so that individual who recognized they have some anxiety about going to work the next day. And what about the individuals at work? Okay, they get to work, and that dread that they had on Sunday turn out to be that dread in the workplace. But you hear that expression, we attract what we put out. So you go in there with this whole dread. I mean, not to say, things aren't legitimate, but with you taking that vibration into the office and it comes about, that just makes your issue even worse. But more than that, what if they're intimidated to go get help?
I think one of the things, and I can use myself as an example. early on in my career, I worked in child welfare, and it was really kind of at the height of the crack epidemic. And so, I mean, our caseloads as foster care case managers and social workers, it was just high. And for me, my Sunday night threads actually began with me having anxiety and panic attacks because
Mm.
I knew going into Monday, I got this 35 child caseload. Each child needs a home visit, a parent contact, a court date, of this. I mean, it was just, I couldn't keep up. And I remember, again, Sunday nights, tossing and turning, because I'm already in my mind at work, where you think Sundays you should be relaxing, doing whatever you do. You know, yeah, you do a little preparation for the work week, but emotionally and mentally, I was already there. And I got to work, and it was time for a meeting. And I remember saying, I cannot do this anymore. Because on Sundays, I literally was not sleeping because I'm already processing everything that I had to do. On top of having an experience where I was being attacked, I was in a workplace bullying situation. So, overworked, underpaid, and emotionally, being in an abusive relationship in the workplace. And the one day I said, I just cannot. And I remember saying, I'm done. And my supervisor at the time, who was a social worker, a clinical social worker, and she and I had been talking about what I was experiencing, and that I wasn't crazy, right? Because I think when folks talk about the Sunday night dreads, it's just like, am I crazy? Am I making more of this? No, you are actually having a reaction to whatever is happening in the workplace. And for me that day, it was just, one of those things where um, I had to do an emotional inventory about not only just what was I experiencing, but what needed to change if I was going to be, you know, you know, the bullying situation, was one that had to change. I mean, and it went as high as it had to go. I think also recognizing that one person can't manage a 35 person caseload as a case manager. I mean, so looking at all the pieces, what is contributing to the dread? Once my caseload was reduced, once the bullying situation was addressed, it changed how I felt about going to work every day. And I think also important, having a relationship with a manager or supervisor. And this is across the board, that you can really talk about how you're experiencing your work environment. Do you need to go into details about the anxiety or depression? That may be best suited for a clinician. But really having a safe place to say, you know what, I feel like I'm paid well, I got great benefits, the vacation is wonderful, but my work environment is stressful. And just really seeing what you all can do to shift some of that. Now, I will say, there's been situations, and I've done management line consultations with managers and employees, and there's been situations where I say, your manager is who your manager is, and they're not willing to change their style for you. So you got to grow somewhere else, But definitely recognizing when you have the Sunday night dreads, and it's having an impact on your quality of life. And I always ask clients when I talk to them, are you sleeping? And if they say no, we got to change. Something has to change.
You basically have mentioned some of the real pain points in the life of an executive assistant. Now, why it's so painful is because with that same kind of anxiety, with the drive to do an excellent job, they're sitting right next to the captain of the ship, which
Right.
intensifies whatever they're feeling, overwhelmed, underworked, not being heard, understanding that the workload is such they need to get in there and do it, but what are they feeling inside? And pushing, pushing, pushing without addressing what they're really feeling. Um, as you mentioned, it is simply not good. But the one thing that is really, impacting me tonight is that how many people know this help is there for them? You know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think the preconceived notion is that EAPs are attached to what employers and managers know. And so sometimes I will hear many folks say, "Oh, I know I have an EAP program, but I don't want it to get back to my employer."
Yes, yes.
So I think it's important, and I can't say enough, and I've had to say this to folks. We would have to give a confidentiality statement. Your EAP program is no different than you going to, I'm going to say, your GYN and somebody knowing all your GYN or your internalist information. It's protected by HIPAA. So it is a federal offense if you go to your EAP professional and they disclose what you talked about, unless it is a threat to harm yourself, to harm someone else, the welfare of a child, or elder abuse, or abuse of a disabled person. Those are the only five conditions where an EAP professional can disclose information. Outside of that, it's information that's protected by the HIPAA law. So your information, an employer cannot ever call an EAP professional and say, "Oh, Karen Henderson, she was in your office today." I don't know it, Karen Henderson.
Let me just check in with our audience out there and say thank you all for chiming in tonight. I appreciate you. Often I don't get a chance to even acknowledge that you're there, but I appreciate that you're there. And it gives me good feelings and good vibes and support to know that our audience is there. Now, do we have any questions? Do we have any questions for Ms. Sanders Williams? You can just put them in the chat. Yes, Judith, I agree. This is great information. And more of us, Sheila says she had 10 sessions with her counselor.
I love it.
I can recall a time, it didn't necessarily have to do with Sunday night dreads, but I was very stressed at work. And I went to the doctor, and the moment he walked in, I was all broke out. And he said, "Have you been under a lot of stress lately?" And I had no idea it was related to stress. Well, he prescribed, what did he call it? Intensive blood work, um, uh, a sedative or Valium or something like that, and a counselor. I nixed the blood work, I nixed the sedative, and I went straight to counseling. This is the thing. I did not know. I wasn't familiar with that terminology. Like I told you, we had three instances of visiting, our counselor, and I didn't know. I did not know it was per case or per
No
different
problem.
situation. But I got so much value out of those three visits. I always talk about it because it was so valuable to me from that point going forward. Okay, Sheila said, I suffered with headaches due to stress at work. So, yeah, it can really affect you physically, mentally,
Absolutely.
emotionally. And a lot of times people just sort of cast it off. If they don't cast it off, they don't necessarily relate it to work.
And I think that in the piece, Karen, that is so important. And I don't really, as an EAP professional, I want to know medically what's happening. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you drinking more? Are you eating more? Are you falling asleep in the middle of the day, because that sleep disruption, high blood pressure, diabetes, we can
Mm.
go, and it's so significant. My dad would say sometimes, "Don't let your job kill you," and I never understood, when he was saying like, "God, what do you mean let the job kill me?" Well, yeah, you stress, high blood pressure, headaches, you eat more, so don't minimize it. If your work day starts here, before you get there, you got to talk about that. And yes, and you might can't change the folks you work with, but that may be it's time for you to grow into something else, grow into a different position.
Yeah.
Because you always
For your health. For your
exactly.
health.
Because my philosophy is, if I'm gonna spend that much time in the workplace, I'm gonna be passionate and I'm gonna love what I'm doing. Out of that experience where I was overworked and bullied, and I just thought I'm spending a lot of time in this workspace and I'm not loving what I'm doing. And that is out of that experience is how I developed passions to read and wellness routine, because I had to have something that I loved more than anything. And it's not a cliche that I could do it for free, because I love what I'm doing. I love being an EAP professional, a sexologist, a vision board coach. I mean, no, and that came out of being in a dreadful work environment.
Well, I won't say that I've been in a dreadful work environment. It's had its challenges, but it certainly is a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I work to empower EAs, especially working in the C suite, because that is the most powerful place usually in an organization. We have a question, a comment here. Hi, Lisa. Lisa says, could you address the stigma of seeing a counselor or therapist? Now, you can address that from a professional standpoint, but I happen to personally think we're in an environment right now where it's in vogue. Like everybody need a therapist. Go get you one. Anyway, you address that, Towanda.
As an EAP professional, so I would say probably over the past 3 years, I have gotten calls from parents because their children are asking for a therapist as young as 5 years old. And I will say, well, how did they approach that with you? And they said, I think I need to talk to somebody. At 5, they recognize it. For my adults, particularly women, I call it a paid girlfriend. A paid girlfriend. Somebody that no matter what you say, what, whatever it is, your deepest, darkest, whatever, it stays in that place. Because, if COVID hasn't taught us anything, there's some things that's not worth holding on to. There's some things that it definitely has caused us to start to think about, how do we not just take care of our physical health, but our emotional health? How do we bring passion to what we're doing? Yeah, every day you should be saying, do I still need to be here today? Because sometimes those work environments can be so toxic. It is not safe. And I sometimes, when people talk to me about having a Sunday night dress, I have to ask them, are you safe in the work environment? And I wish I could say, folks are like, oh, I'm okay. In some of these work environments, it's not safe. And having a place to talk, Lisa, is so important. And to Karen's point, if we got the 5-year-olds and the 6-year-olds saying, I want to talk to somebody. And I'm just thinking, I mean, it just blew my mind the first time a parent said that. So I think when we talk, we 3 to 4 times a year we see a dentist. Women, we get mammograms. Men, prostate check. We all need a checkup, emotionally. And if life if it shows up, we need a place to go back and say, okay, I know I made it out. but am I really okay? Am I really okay? So, you know, even if you have an EAP, just use, if the counselor said, why am I here? You can say, Towanda said I should come get a emotional health checkup. An emotional health checkup is so important. And it doesn't cost you anything. Your company is paying
I,
for it.
I hope that helped you. And I mean, years ago, I used the expression in vogue. Years ago, I had a therapist, and I guess it was really in that time of taboo. And having gone through it and come out on the other side, my comment back there then, boy, everybody needs a therapist. It
What
was
we
an
listen,
experience.
right. We got dentists, the eye doctor, your primary care, your ear, nose, and throat doctor, your podiatrist, and we go for these checkups and not for our own emotional health.
We we let that stigma uh, thrive,
Yeah.
basically, without cutting it off, tamping it down, refuting it. We let it thrive, but it is one of the best things for you. Now, I am going to ask you to wander as we wrap up. This has been excellent. So it's obvious we're going to have another session.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
In
but
part
I
two.
would like to ask you, I'll ask you on both sides. Give me the top three um, the top three tools, the top three hacks that will help you reduce. That's the word I'll use. Will help you reduce the Sunday night dregs. And if reduce is not the proper word here,
That's the good time.
okay, okay.
So, a vision board. A vision board. What work environment do you see yourself in? Is one. Ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What am I passionate about? And I would definitely say the third one is EAP programs are generally 24 hours a day.
EMP programs are what?
EAP programs, you can call 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Call and talk to somebody. You know, I called it a paid girlfriend. These are services, and I've worked for two companies, major companies in this country, and it's an underutilized service. So companies are paying millions of dollars for free services that you as the employee can tap into. And when I say any household member, your neighbor can move into your home and tap into your EAP program because they are a household member. So call and talk. So those are my top three.
Okay.
I do have a fourth.
Okay. I'll take it.
So I mentioned being a sexologist. Just say passion. Have some passion. Have some passion. Whether it's with someone or with yourself. Have some
The other taboo from pleasing ourselves, right?
right.
Making us feel better will perform better.
I'm just saying. Have some passion.
You did say all of this was connected.
It's all connected. And I will tell you, and when I do talk to the grown folks, and this is a grown folks level conversation, I will ask them, are you having sex? When the Sunday night dreads come, everything stops. So if
Yeah.
you're finding that
Yeah.
you at one point, you at one place, and now you're finding that you're just even touching, kissing, hugging, caressing, self pleasure, and you're totally finding that that is like non-existent, you know, it's serious. So Sunday night drives are just not about what's happening or what's not happening at work. it impacts your quality of life. So when you start seeing that creeping into some other areas, it's serious.
Yeah, and you make me think of also these self assessments. We talk about the vision board, we talk about the EAP program, but are you in an environment that best serves you? Period. Period.
Mhm.
Is it too stressful? Do you need a more laid back environment? And the shame of it all is for a lot of us, especially if we aren't really self aware, we're inhibited to talk about these things lest we feel we offend the other, whoever that other is. Meanwhile, we're tearing up self or we're tearing down self, but we're not serving self. And if we aren't serving self, how can we serve another?
Ask yourself every day, how am I doing? And and when I ask myself that question in a more recent transit corporate, it was time to go. I had outgrown, and no need of me spending that much time being in a place where I don't feel like I'm showing up to be my authentic self. So it's so important. It's so important that we take care of ourselves in our workspaces and have folks who can understand the value of that.
Well, you said it when you say show up as our authentic self because many times we do go to work. I mean, we may wear a mask all different times of the day, but you do, wear some sort of mask at work, and a lot of times it's masking something that's
Mm.
metastasizing inside. So being our authentic self is something that we really should embrace and strive towards. I mean, nothing we're saying is easy or happen tomorrow or anything like that, but we need to think about it and work towards it. Okay, hi Zykia. She says the most important person on the team is self.
That's
I
right.
couldn't agree with you more. That is absolutely true. Tawanda, you have just been all of that, a bag of chips and some Doritos.
I appreciate that, Karen.
I'm serious. Everyone is appreciating what you've had to say, recognizing perhaps some things that are going on with them personally or things that they could share with others to better their lives. I know I've appreciated you very much. And Tawanda, I'm going for my 3 sessions on a particular case, and then I may come again for another case. So be on standby.
Let me tell you. Let me just say this, folks. COVID is a in and of itself is a value place to start to process that, and it doesn't assume it has to be a loss of anybody, but just the loss of our quality of life. So use those sessions. Don't let your employer take your program away because you're not using them. Use them.
I like to say to all of my EAs out there in the C suite, I hope you have found value tonight. I hope that something said will help empower you to help you get better, be better, um, because as the young lady just said, the most important person on the team is self. This has been Karen's Carrots here tonight. I tell you, I've really enjoyed it. To contact me, you can get me at easinthecsuite.com. That is also my website. We're here to serve, coach, and teach EAs in the C suite to basically get rid of the pain, to get rid of the anxiety, get rid of feeling you're not being recognized for all you bring to the table. And also, we like to serve our small business owners. Sometimes they're at a point where they're looking for help and don't quite know exactly the level of help they require. We're here for that too. You can just go to my website, click on a free consultant. a free call, I'm sorry, for a consult, I'll be glad to speak with you about where you are in the process and how we can serve you. Once again, we want to thank Towanda Sanders Williams for being here. It's been awesome. I say thank you to all of our guests who joined us here tonight. And if there is something that you'd like to have us bring up on Karen's Carrots, just drop it in the chat or send an email or there's also ask me questions or rather a place on my website where you can ask questions. We'll definitely get back to you. Um, I've enjoyed it here tonight. I'm thankful again, and I simply want to say so long until next week. What is she saying? A whole lifestyle shift. Yeah, and that's what's needed, the lifestyle and the mind shift. So thank you all once again. I look forward to next week. I may be on the road, but we will have Karen's Carrots next week. And so, Tawanda,
Yes, ma'am.
give us some wise parting words as we end our week and in a few days approach another Sunday.
Hmm. Ask yourself how you are doing and answer truth. Ask yourself, how am I doing in the workplace? And answer truthfully.
I like that. I like that. And with that, we're going to say so long for now. Thank you again. And we hope to see you next week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
thank you. I appreciated you being here.